this is the third of 3 sessions we've had, and to me it's a testament to the work that MPI has done in the community over the years. We thank you for your interest in this. Each of the sessions has been an equally diverse representation of CDC staff, partners in all aspects of community development and beyond. So again, we thank you for coming, and hope that you enjoy it. I'm going to show you a video. Some of you saw, some of you have seen it before. We think it's a great, quick story of some of the successes of the community development system in Cleveland over the years. So I hope you enjoy it.
and say simply, very simply, with hope, good morning.
Thanks to Wayne Mortensen on our staff who worked hard to put that together. We think it's a great reflection of great things going on in Cleveland. Today we're going to have four parts of the presentation. The first, we're going to talk a little bit about the planning process, relatively briefly. Then we're going to talk about our strategic framework, our overall thinking. Then we'll talk about the details of the plan, and we're going to have some of the people responsible for implementing portions of the plan come up and talk about it. And then a chance for you to engage with us. And each of you has a book in front of you. And the first thing I'll show is that we have a list of our strategic planning task force members on the inside. So I'm going to start by telling you a little bit about our strategic plan process, which took place last year. So I began in Neighbor Congress in January of 2010, just over 2 years ago now. And one of the first things I did was spend time in some of the neighborhoods to reacquaint myself with some of the things going on. And I felt that I wanted to deepen that and get a real frank assessment of what you and others like you thought about neighborhood progress and the work that we were doing. We know we had a great past, but we wanted to make sure that we were continuing to evolve to be as effective as possible. So we engaged the Mandel School at Case Western Reserve, and led by Mark Schupp and Mark Joseph, who are represented here today, to do a frank assessment of neighborhood progress. They asked over 500 people to complete a survey, monkey survey, and over 150 people responded. They interviewed approximately 40 of you, and they did 4 focus groups. I would venture to say that a significant number of you in this room were consulted. You may not remember, this would be over a year and a half ago now, but a number of you were consulted in a variety of ways, and one of those ways to give us feedback. And they put together a report that was really very useful to us. And we've shared that with everyone. We have copies here today if anyone would like a copy. It went to our board and again to the community beyond as well. And it told us that we were in some ways on the right track, but that we needed to continue to evolve, and that we needed to look for ways to be responsive and increasingly responsive, and to take a role as a leader, but in a way that brought in all the stakeholders. So even today's meeting is in some ways a reflection of some of those things that we heard in the report. We thought the report then led into the strategic planning process. So we began a full-fledged strategic planning process that lasted about 9 months. Again, that was in 2011. We convened the list of stakeholders that are in the report. The staff worked very, very hard on the report. So much of the staff that is here today spent many, many hours working on our strategic plan. We have copies of it today, and we'll talk more about it. It's, I think, 35 pages of charts, so we're not giving that all to you, but if you want it, we're very happy to share it with you. We'll talk about some of the detail that's represented in those charts, but we've given you something that is an overview. But those charts I mentioned because they're representative of how much work the staff did on this report, which we're very proud of. So that's a little bit of the process. The board approved unanimously our strategic plan process at the end of October, and then we thought the first thing we needed to do was share it with the community. Again, this is the third of 3 sessions in doing that. In the meantime, we're continuing to adjust the staff of Neighborhood Progress to be in a position to implement the report. You'll hear more about that later, but we're now rewriting job descriptions. Some of our titles will change. We're adjusting our staffing chart to be reflective of our strategic framework, and so we'll be best set up to do this work. We have some new staff, some of which I'll introduce in a little bit. So we're very excited about moving the organization in a way that we can accomplish this plan. going to ask Jennifer, who has a new title, who is the Director of Fund Development and was one of the leads on the strategic plan, to say a few more words about the process of the plan.
Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you all can hear me. First, I just want to say that we're actually scheduling a fourth strategic plan presentation for February 11th. Obviously, we're so excited to have so much interest. You can see the room's packed. So we've added a fourth presentation. Please feel free to share that information with the staff and colleagues. I'm also personally working on a dance routine to go along with the videos. We'll debut it at the next one. As Joel mentioned, last year was our strategic planning process. It was a full 9 months. We started by convening the task force that you see in the booklet, and it was chaired by Michael White. We started by first really gauging where we were by looking at market data and program data, and by taking the results of the case assessment to heart. In the next phase, we co-hosted the summit, and I think probably a lot of people were there. There were over 300 people, and we surveyed the guests in real time. And what we heard was that, we're at a good place. We've done a lot of good work. Placemaking is still really important, the physical development aspects of community development. But it's also time to really reassess where we are and think about some new programming, such as wealth building or education or safety. Phase 3 is when we really broke down our organizational goals, and that's in the detail that you can pick up on your way out. We have 88 strategies, so it's a lot of detail. We're in phase 4. Here we are today. Our board approved the strategic plan in October, and right now we're presenting it to the public, having a dialogue, getting feedback, and then we're going to move forward on it. And we thank you all for coming out today. I'm going to turn it back over to Joel.
So the strategic plan is meant to be for the next 4 years in a very specific way, and that we can hold ourselves accountable. But at the same time, we were thinking that this is a moment to rethink community development for a new generation. So we know things are changing very quickly in the neighborhoods and in the world around us in terms of technology, how businesses work, how nonprofits work. So we want to really think not just about the next 4 years and be very specific about that, and we think we have the plan, but really think about the new generation of community development so that we are sure that we renew ourselves in our movement at this moment as the foreclosure crisis continues to wind down. We still have the residue of many foreclosures and abandonment. But we have new opportunities and as well as new challenges, and we want to do everything possible to ourselves be responsive to this brave new world that you so refer to and to lead. So we targeted roles that need to be strengthened, and we wanted the plan to be coherent and realistic. And we wanted to be sure that we talked about what we could do and things that we couldn't realistically do, and more about that later. We wanted to make sure that we pushed ourselves, neighborhood progress, our organization, to be as efficient and as effective as possible, so that we ourselves were a model of a strong nonprofit. And we wanted to make sure that we have the necessary resources to do the work. The plan in every case assigns a responsible party on our staff to accomplish the work. We have a timetable as a part of it, and we want to be focused on metrics. So we believe that not only we, but the entire system should be focused on metrics. This is a little different than it had been because we can't, before we usually measure housing production. In some cases, we'll still measure that. But there are other aspects of community development that we know we need to measure. Some may be more difficult to measure, but we shouldn't shy away from that. So an emphasis on metrics as well. we want to be very clear about our aspirations, what we're going to do, and again, the plan intents and our willingness to share is an attempt to be intentional in defining our approach and transparent. And we want to be rigorous, as I said, engaging our progress, and we're, again, putting it out to you so you can say next year, what about this? And if we're not doing it, then we want to be held accountable. And we want to be willing to admit mistakes. We are not perfect. So that we can have a continuous feedback loop so that we're constantly improving and capable of quickly adapting and improving. Many of you know Mario Marino recently wrote a book. He's a Clevelander who did very well in telecommunications. And he's thought a lot about nonprofits. And he talks about an unrelenting focus and passion for improving lives in our community. And we think that a lot of things he's saying in terms of accountability and metrics have a lot of value. So again, in terms of ourselves being a model of a strong nonprofit, that's one of our aspirations, and to push the whole system toward ever increasing functionality. Here's our framework. So this is and this is in your book. It's in the middle of the page. So we spent a lot of time talking about these things. So in the past, we've talked about neighborhoods of choice, and we were very thoughtful with the strategic planning committee. I really argued over every time where we use the word neighborhood or community. And we talked about what it means to be a neighborhood of choice versus a community of choice. We hope that these things will play out. It's not just words. It has implications for funding. It has implications for the work we do and how we do it. So we're talking now about communities of choice and opportunity. We believe, and again, one of the ideas in choosing the word community was neighborhood progress is our name. We are about neighborhoods. We're proud of that. We will continue to be about neighborhoods. But as neighborhoods change, in some cases depopulating, in other cases repopulating, we want to be sure that the neighborhood structure doesn't bind us. And in many cases, the work can be done beyond neighborhoods or across neighborhoods, or across CDCs or across wards. So that was one of the reasons that we also wanted to use the word community. Communities of choice, so we have thought of a community of choice or a neighborhood of choice is a neighborhood, a place that people choose to be in, that they want to be in, that they choose to stay in and not leave, and that other people are attracted to that neighborhood, want to be in there. We have some neighborhoods that are really very much neighborhoods of choice. So when we talk about choice, we talk about the traditional agenda of neighborhood progress in terms of placemaking and making neighborhoods attractive, making sure there's appealing housing, and all those things that we'll talk about a little bit more on the placemaking. When we talk about communities of opportunity, we wanted to be sure that our system was also responsive to the needs of the people who live in neighborhoods. So this is opportunities to get a quality education, to have an opportunity to have a job that pays a decent wage, to have an opportunity to be engaged in the community and a leader in the community, and an opportunity to develop some wealth. And traditionally, the wealth building strategy was around putting people into houses that ultimately they would own, but we know in many Cleveland neighborhoods that may not be a strategy for helping people to develop wealth. If the house itself doesn't have value or doesn't have a reasonable aspiration of retaining its value or increasing value. So we wanted to think about how we help people to develop wealth in other ways in addition to housing. So we talk about communities of choice and opportunity. In other words, neighborhood work is about bringing people to neighborhoods, attracting people to neighborhoods, but it's also about responding to poverty in neighborhoods and ensuring that people who do live in those neighborhoods are not left behind, right? And we know that neighborhoods that have a diversity of income often do very well, so we want to make sure that neighborhoods where there's less diversity of income and it's more low income, that people are not left behind. One of the things that, before I talk about the blue, that I'll say, that I want to say very directly is that our system historically was most focused, not entirely, but most focused on bricks and mortar, a lot of housing, commercial space as well. And we did this, and we believe that we have a great legacy that we shouldn't leave behind, so that we need to continue to focus on it as appropriate in different neighborhoods. But we also know that people choose their neighborhoods with two particular factors. One is on the placemaking side, one is on the development side. The first is security. We know that people leave urban neighborhoods because, too often, because they don't feel secure. And security is an issue that affects people at all income levels, of all backgrounds. And security is not easy, and we can't take it on by ourselves. But we wanted to talk about security because we know we can't ignore it. And no matter what we do, no matter how beautiful the neighborhood, how wonderful the housing is, if people don't feel secure in that neighborhood, then that's going to be a problem. It's going to be difficult to attract people, and too often when people have a chance to leave, when they're doing a little bit better, they will leave if they don't feel secure. So security is a basic human need that we want to infuse into all the work we're doing and be intentional about. How can our agenda be supportive of helping people to feel more secure in their neighborhoods? Similarly, every real estate agent knows that the number one factor in housing costs is the school system, is the schools. And we've known that schools are really hard, and it's hard to get good schools. But we also know that every kid in Cleveland should have a chance to have a quality education. And unless we're supportive of that agenda and contributing to it in whatever ways we can, that our neighborhood work is not going to be successful. So we're agnostic as to which system is the right school system. So whether it's a public system, whether it's high quality charters, or whether it's parochial or private schools, we know that neighborhoods where there are quality schools are going to do better. And again, that every kid should have a chance to get to a school that's close by and high quality. We also know that kids do better in schools that have a diversity of income and backgrounds, right? There's a lot of research to show that. So we wanted, again, education's on one side, security's on another side, but the strategic planning committee really spent a lot of time talking about those things that, again, that we all know, we all talk about, but we haven't specifically integrated into our agenda. Not least at all, but I haven't talked about it, is the key role of neighborhood progress in moving the community development system forward. So we call ourselves a community development intermediary, which means we have a role in funding CDCs, as many of you know. We have a strategic investment initiative that funds 9 CDCs in the city of Cleveland. But really, to more completely develop our role as an intermediary, through using capacity building, right sizing, leadership development of CDC boards, shared services for CDCs, and having an advocacy agenda for the CDC system. So really to more fully inhabit our role as an intermediary, so that we're constantly pushing the system forward. We know we have a very good CDC system, but we want to not rest on our laurels. And the CDCs should continue to feel that they need to continue to improve. And there should be a lot of competition for funding from neighborhood progress, because there are so many CDCs that are getting better and better and more impactful. So we don't want to say that if it's not broken, don't fix it. We want to say that all of us need to continue to develop that, beginning with MPI, to be responsive to the changing environment. So that's and that we should have a role in pushing the CDC system to the next level. So that's about the CDC services and system. We see that as the foundation for a system that creates communities of choice and opportunity. So that's the basic, that's the foundation or the cornerstone of what we do in the whole system. So we put these things together, and we're thinking of that as our strategic framework. So placemaking, to go back to that, includes all aspects of developing a beautiful, attractive, physical place. And it's a planning, it's stabilization, as many of you know, some of you are involved with it, is the effort to deal with our vacancy and abandonment problems in the city of Cleveland. As you know, we've been very hard hit by the foreclosure crisis. We've turned the corner somewhat, but there's still a lot of work to do as we clean up from the foreclosure crisis. And foreclosures, as you know, are still elevated over historical levels. So, and as you know, we have thousands and thousands of vacant houses in the city of Cleveland, particularly on the east side, that are probably surplus housing in some neighborhoods for the years to come. So we need to be very responsive to that stabilization agenda. Urban greening, many of you participate in the reimagining work. Housing and commercial development, we'll talk more about amenities a little bit. I talked about security. Attraction is a key piece. So how do we, what's the best system possible? How can we use the social media and all the tools that are exposure to bring people to Cleveland neighborhoods? Both, well, actually I should say from the suburbs, we want to attract people when possible. We want to attract people from beyond the suburbs, from the state and nationally when we can. And we want, when people come to Cleveland, we want them to come into the city whenever possible. And to bring people back who used to live in Cleveland, so the so-called boomerangers. So we want to have a complete attraction strategy. Jeff Kipp is here from Live Cleveland, and we'll talk a little bit more about our growing relationship with them in a few moments. But we think attraction is a really key piece of this effort. Using public art, many of you know Village Capital is our lending subsidiary, provides loans to urban development projects. And on the human development side, I talked about the opportunities for health, for education, leadership, building an engagement workforce, development and wealth building. So that's how we're thinking of our strategic framework. This, we want, again, as part of an effort to be very intentional and very clear, we identified, we wanted to be clear about what our role was in all of this. And we decided we had different roles at different times. So we identified 4 roles, and we'll talk again a little bit more about this. But the roles are the leader, a leader, a support partner, or a participant. And we know that in some cases, in the place of schools, we're not the leader, and we're not even a leader. This is an area that is really new to us. We work in partnership with the CMSD and Quality School Systems Charter and private and religious. So we wanted to say in each of these areas what our role would be and what we could accomplish and what we couldn't. And we've assigned one of those roles to each of our 88 tactics that Jennifer referred to. I'll tell you a little bit about the specifics of the plan. So our mission in this, you saw really the framework, is to foster communities of choice and opportunity throughout Cleveland. This is a new and we think clear mission statement. We discussed every one of those words. We chose the word foster to represent that we do almost all of our work through partnerships. So whether it's with community development corporations who are in the neighborhoods themselves, or whether it's with systems like the school system or others, our job is to foster communities of choice and opportunity, not ourselves to create them. We don't have the ability to do that. And again, I talked before about choice and opportunity. And very importantly, I wanted to pull out the words throughout Cleveland. We think that we have, in many ways, functioned as a citywide organization, notwithstanding the Strategic Investment Initiative. Village Capital has always made loans in every part of the city. When we got stimulus funding recently, we worked in 15 areas of the city beyond the non-strategic investment neighborhoods with the NST, the neighborhood stabilization teams. And we believe that in much of the work we're doing, we can be effective throughout Cleveland. Now, this doesn't mean that we won't continue to have a strategic investment initiative, which is to say, it is our expectation that our funding will be primarily focused on a select number of CDCs, and that's the way the funding has the most impact. But there is much work we can do beyond funding, and we are looking to strengthen our role in that respect. And to, again, we are, as I referred to, working in a conversation with Cleveland Neighborhood Development Coalition as well as with Cleveland about even the possibility of a merger so that we can be most effective in serving the entire city in a way that's comprehensive and as efficient as possible. So how can we provide a capacity building support to all of the CDCs? How can we provide a strong marketing and attraction agenda across the city? Again, it doesn't really make sense to do a marketing and attraction agenda by wards or by 10,000 person neighborhoods. That's not efficient, it's not sustainable, it's not effective. So how do we think about marketing that goes by parts of the city, and how can we serve the whole city in that way, much as what Cleveland has done, and again, and taking some of the things from how CNDC has worked in the past. So that's our mission. Our vision is that Cleveland's neighborhoods are attractive, vibrant communities where people from all incomes, races, and generations thrive, prosper, and choose to live. We want people to live there, to learn, to work, invest, and play. So we want people to work there too. We want job opportunities for people in the city of Cleveland. We want economic development. We want people to invest there and really tap. And this, I think, is a statement that community development it needs to understand how all the factors that lead people to choose where they live and to choose a neighborhood, right? It's schools, it's security, it's access to a grocery store, it's access to a bank, it's having, their streets plowed and every aspect of that. We can't do all those things ourselves. We're very cognizant of that, but we need to be aware of what we can do and where we can be supportive. So that's our vision. If you look, I'm going to borrow yours. If you look right here, you're welcome to the right page. Core values and guiding principles. So I want to welcome two city council people who joined us. Councilman Baker Mitchell and Councilman Jay Westbrook. Thank you for joining us. We don't have a quorum, but we appreciate that number of Don't touch that. Core values and guiding principles. We wanted to, again, be very clear about what we felt was important. And I'll pull out a few things there. This is the Wordle, which summarizes this. You can take it home and read it. But we wanted to talk about the central role of cities and using neighborhoods as the prism by which that we use to, in the community development system is specifically addressed there in number 4. So neighborhoods and the city and community development corporations as being key in doing this work. Equity for all people's number 3. So to specifically to be clear about the issues of race and economic diversity in our neighborhoods, and to talk about those things and recognize them, and to be sure that we are being responsive. Number 5 is about working through networks. So again, I think your diversity today reflects that, right? We have people from schools, we have foundations, we have CDCs, we have business development organizations. So all of this is about working in networks. Number 6, we got dinged in the Mandel School report about transparency. So we're working hard to be more transparent. And we want to say we heard that, and we're about transparent and informed decision making. So we're going to continue to be talking to you. Housing, we know, is key, and we don't want to walk away from that. Number 7. Number 8, we know we have a lot of open space that we need to put back into use. It's certainly appropriate that we're here in the central neighborhood where there's a number of really exciting projects to do urban greening at a large scale. And some of the partners around that are here. Number 9, for the first time, we've said educational attainment is a key piece of community building, and again, that we need to ensure that there are quality schools in every part of the city. And 10 is about quality services of all kinds. I mentioned a minute ago, the groceries, retail, healthy food we see right here, banking, not just check cashers, and all the things that all of us want to live our lives. I'm going to ask some of our staff and our partners who will be very involved and be leading some of these efforts to come up and talk about some of the goals. So our first goal was in our roles of community development intermediary. Colleen Gilson is a member of the board of Neighborhood Progress, as well as a member of the Strategic Planning Task Force, and has been involved with this role. So we asked her to come up and talk about this.
Thank you. I want to underscore the fact that I am a member of the board and a member of the task force and a supporting partner in my role as executive director of Cleveland Neighborhood Development Coalition. As I already mentioned, it's no secret that our organizations, including with Cleveland, are in deep discussions over merger exploration and hoping to get to an answer about moving into a next phase of actually forming a new or transformative organization should my membership desire that to be necessary. Regardless of whether CNDC, Live Cleveland, and NPI merge into a new organization, CNDC, if we remain a standalone organization, will work side by side with NPI to implement all of these goals because we believe in this plan as a supporting organization. Specifically, Goal 1, an aligned, efficient, and results-driven community development network being achieved and serving as a national model. The bullet points that you see up here on the board, I want to explain a little bit further. Number 1, encourage and support right-sizing and shared services to produce scale, greater efficiencies, and better results. This isn't forcing merging, this is supporting merging. This is where conversations are already existing in neighborhoods amongst organizations, CDCs, other nonprofits. NPI wants to be there to support those efforts, whether that's in a consulting role